Hello and welcome from Israel. I try to stay away from this topic as much as I could because I don't want to, God forbid, insult anybody or, that I respect. But I have to bring this up. The pontiff, Pope Francis, the head of the Catholic Church, who's 88 years old, sits in Vatican City and delivers speeches from Vatican City. I've been to Vatican City. Here you have the head of the Catholic Church, the pontiff, Pope Francis, stating, and I want to quote this, listen carefully.
Non lo hanno lasciato entrare a Gaza come avevano permesso. E ieri sono stati bombardati bambini. Questo è crudeltà, questo non è guerra. Voglio dirlo perché tocca al cuore.
He accused Israel of bombing civilians and leaving Gazan children to freeze to death, slamming the Jewish state over what he called the shameful situation in Gaza. I really try to stay away from, God forbid, bringing in the pontiff or the head of the church or Pope Francis, but he's out of touch with reality. I don't think it's because he's senile at 88 years old. I think he knows exactly what he's stating. And who's freezing to death in Gaza? You can't freeze to death at 50 degrees weather. I've been down to Gaza. During the day, it's about 80, 82 degrees, sometimes 85 degrees down south. At night, the winds cool down, the weather calms down, and it drops to about 50, 55 degrees. You can't freeze to death in 55 degrees. The shameful situation in Gaza, he meant more aid into Gaza for the civilians. And he wants to make sure that the aid gets to the Palestinian people. Why are you telling us to make sure the aid gets to the Palestinian people? Why don't you call up Hamas and tell them to make sure the aid gets to the Palestinian people or the Arabs down in Gaza? They're the ones hoarding all the goods. He also stated that he wants to go back to possibly renewing an Iran nuclear deal to bring peace upon the world. You want an Iran nuclear deal with a country that says they want to wipe Israel off the map of Israel? Unfortunately, this is not the Jewish people's first encounter with the church. This goes back a couple of hundred years, maybe even 1,000 years. Definitely way before the Spanish Inquisition that occurred, but during pogroms. So unfortunately, we're asking the Pope, please don't put the pressure on Israel when you don't know what the situation is here. Do you know that Bethlehem, which is about a 5-minute drive from my house, which I could see from my backyard currently, was 80%, 85% Christian Catholic. That's what it was, Bethlehem, holy place. Yet now the population is down to about 10%, maybe less, of Christians and Catholics.
And Bethlehem's Christian community faces mounting challenges as a new report shows a sharp decline in the Christian population under Palestinian Authority and Hamas rule. Meanwhile, Pope Francis intensifies criticism of Israel.
The Pope's repeated criticism of Israel is particularly striking in light of data on the ground. A new study from the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, published Sunday, highlights a sharp decline in the Christian population under Palestinian Authority and Hamas control. The report attributes this drop to violence, lack of law enforcement, and religious coercion. In 1922, Christians comprised 11% of the population in Palestinian Authority-controlled areas. Today, they account for less than 1%. In Gaza, for example, the Christian population has plummeted from 5,000 before Hamas took power in 2007 to just 1,000 as of October 2023. The situation in Bethlehem is equally dire. According to the report, Christians made up 86% of Bethlehem and surrounding villages in 1950. Today, they represent only about 10%.
So I'm asking Pope Francis, why do you think that is? Do you think they just don't like the neighborhood of Bethlehem and decided to leave one day or over a period of time? No, they were pushed out by these Muslim radicals that, by the way, hate the Catholics and the Christians and the Jews and the blacks and the Spanish just as much as they hate us. They don't like anybody that is not Islam. So unless Pope Francis decides to become imam or decides to become a follower of Islam, they have no respect for you and they want to kill you, actually, which is very sad. So please, Pope Francis, the Pontiff in Vatican City, make sure when you're bringing up comments that your facts are correct. We've been through this before. Take care, bye.